Okay, welcome to the Disallowed Goal. So after the game last night, and it was a great game, it was a lot of fun, great time was had by all. I was very curious about this disallowed goal that happened in about 41st minute of the first half, which I feel, had it been allowed, would have been a devastating goal to Waterford, especially right before the half. You don't want to concede a goal, and going down 2-0 would have been a tough thing to overcome. However, it didn't. It was disallowed and it didn't count. So immediately I was curious because I didn't have a good view of it because I was streaming the game, looking through an iPad, and I didn't see the play. It happened so fast. And I had several people ask me if I thought it was offsides, and I said I did because I didn't want it to be a goal. But I was curious nonetheless, so I got the video and I got this still photo of where I feel is the critical moment where the AR needs to make a decision. What he has to do is see where the ball is, where the players are, find the last defender, and decide whether or not he's going to raise the flag when this guy becomes active. So what I've done is, to make it easy, I made it black and white to get rid of all the colors. Maybe it makes it easier to see. And I circled and marked the important features of this freeze frame. As I said here, this is the ball. This is the point where the official will make his decision based on the positioning of these. There has to be two defenders between the goal and the ball. And it's usually always the goalkeeper. In this case, it is as well. So we're going to be focused on Dante's positioning because he will be the offside line. And this is nice because the angle is terrible. So in normal, I would not say that I can draw any kind of conclusion based on this angle because it's not good. It's two-dimensional, and it would be very difficult to draw lines on it. But since we have lines on the field, we can use them as references to be fairly certain. So anyway, what I do here doesn't have any relevance. It's not a disputable call, and it's not something that a team can protest. Once this call is made, it's over. So these type of plays happen all the time. Several of them, as a matter of fact, have gone against Waterford. The Badger game comes to mind, as well as I thought a couple of calls in the second half, or an AR2 on his side. There were several calls I felt that should have been offsides that were not offsides on Union Grove that led to good scoring opportunities. So I always say this is a game of mistakes. Mistakes are always exploited, and that includes mistakes by the officials. And so anyway, we're going to draw this parallel line. You can see here there's the outline of the goalkeeper area. So this would be in yellow. And then we're going to use this line and the Broncos end zone paint as a reference. Now, it appears that Dante is a good 2 yards off the top of the paint. And as we draw that line over, I approximate it's going to be right about there. So I feel that this goal scorer is about 2 feet to 2 yards onside from my angle, but that's not what the case. That was not what the call on the field was. And maybe shine a little bit more light on this. We break it, we pull it out a little bit, go back to the color version. You can see where the AR is not in a good position. In order to make this call, he needs to be in line with Dante, so that would take him off the frame. And as you can see, he's about 8 to 10 yards behind the play. So his view is going to be skewed. Now, what I think may have happened, perhaps an explanation, is these two players may have blocked Dante, and he probably wasn't aware that he was there. But at any rate, he called it. Thank you, and resulted in a goal being disallowed. So after being curious about this and seeing this, what I like to do is I like to go back to where the play begins, where the actual possession changed. So that brought further analysis because then I was really curious as to why or how this guy was able to be so wide open. The nearest player is about 8 to 10 yards. So to do that, we have to take this back where Michael Bowes was clearly fouled here. No issue with that. Good call. And to give some little background here, Waterford was dominating the game at this point. So you take a look at Michael. He takes a look at the clock. He's aware we're 41 and a half minutes into the game. We got to kill another 3.5 minutes. We prefer to go into the locker room with a 1-0 lead, so it's important not to concede another goal here. I know what he's thinking. He's probably thinking, we got 3.5 minutes. I'm going to get it deep downfield, give my offense a chance to maybe get a shot on goal, and then kill the half. My only issue that I have here is because of my later analysis, as I go this through and I have the liberty of going back and forth. If he had, I feel that he should have waited another 4 seconds here, simply to get JJ, as you'll see later, to be further up the field, as well as Michael to be further up the field, because ultimately these two players get out of position for the goal scoring opportunity. He plays it, and it's not a bad ball. I don't really have a lot of disagreement here. Soccer is, sometimes, always, never. But you have to make these decisions based on what the game gives you. Um, Again, in my opinion, being Monday morning quarterback, that extra 4 seconds takes JJ roughly here, which is an abundance of space, which is an ideal spot for him to be in. But he wasn't given enough time to get there. And what that also does, if JJ is here, the goal scorer here has to make a decision. Do I leave him open? My guess is that he's going to follow him all the way back. And then we've got a starting point of here instead of here, which ends up being critical. Also, I don't mind the ball going here. If I believe this is Drew, I can't really tell. If he gets a successful flick on into this space, that's ideal for Chris to run onto. Had we wait 4 seconds, though, I believe Drew is further up the field and gets 20 more into the play here. Gets JJ here, perhaps this guy back here, which opens up space for Michael Bowes, and then maybe Michael Bowes shows up in the frame, which may help him pick up this guy. Also, Aiden is here. I'm not quite sure. I didn't go back far enough to see how he ended up there. He's not in a bad position. I mean, maybe in hindsight he could be in here, but because the play doesn't go this way, if it did, I think he'd be in ideal position. Again, 4 more seconds, JJ is here. Perhaps the ball gets played here instead of over here, which I would prefer, because Aiden's one-on-one with this. Now, it's all about getting one-on-one matchups. And what Chris has done is brilliant here is he's got two defenders marking him, and he's going to take them over here, which is exactly what you want to do. That opens up Aiden one-on-one. So that's where we want the ball to go. So if Chris is making this run when Michael Highland is kicking the ball, then it opens up this space. It brings JJ up here. Then the ball could be played here. JJ on to Aiden. Then we've got a one-on-one matchup instead of Chris going against 1, 2, 3, 4. Ultimately is what happens. Okay, you heard Dan saying we got to fill the space, and he couldn't be more right. There is a lot of space here now. And normally I would say, hey, we're in a good position here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players behind the ball, which is not bad. They're marking 2 here, 3 potential threats. So John Brown's in a good position. I like the marking. Dante behind the center striker, Frenchie in front of him. Michael Bowes is maybe a little too close for my liking, but it's not a bad position. The problem is that he never takes his eye off the ball and becomes completely unaware of this guy who becomes becomes the threat. Again, 4 more seconds. JJ's here. Maybe that guy is here. That enables Michael to be here, and maybe things are different. But we also see Max closing in on here. I like 20 is in a good position. He's trying to force the ball this way, which is what you want him to do. He's putting some slight pressure on it, as you can see what happens here. Okay, here's the mistake that I really want to talk about, and I wanted to stop it at the right moment. All right, the pass is made. Not a big deal. That is an acceptable passing lane for these two guys to give. So the guy threads it. That's fine. This guy's checking back. He's got his back to the goal. We're okay. Look at it. We got plenty of numbers back, front and back on the striker. Michael Bose is now starting to peek in here where he doesn't need to go. What he needs to do is he never takes a glance back and needs to be aware of this guy. I also have issue, or now JJ is, well, we'll hold this because in a moment they're gonna be more prevalent to understand. But right now, let's focus on Max because what he did is he's not gifted with speed, Max. You got to admit that. And you're marking a guy who is extremely fast. So what you need to do is to be a little bit smarter. And a lot of players make this mistake, even at higher levels, is that when this ball is made, you're ball watching and you turn to your left. And so you're watching the ball go here. And what you really need to be concerned about, the ball is not going to beat you. This guy's going to beat you. Now you have a 3 yard head start on him. What I would have preferred is if you turn to your right. So now you're facing the player. Now you can get a legal bump, slow him down, get in front of him, and push him out wider, or at least to slow down his run. But instead, you turn towards the ball, he blows by you. So now instead of being 3 yards, 5 yards in front of him or on him, you're now 3 yards behind him, and you're now helpless to make any real contribution here. Now, you had some options. Like I said, you could have turned into him, delayed him, slowed him down, or, and it's perfectly acceptable in this case, is to give a foul to stop the play at midfield. Maybe you get a yellow card, maybe you don't. I think you could get away with it. At any rate, there's some more issues now. Now Dante is noticing is now has to react to the breach, which he should do, and he's going to do. Will now has fallen back behind the because now he assumes the role of marking this guy. Dante's going to go fill the breach. John is in a good position to cover the guy that will come into the frame. Now JJ is the first guy I believe now recognizes the threat here. Michael, maybe this is the time that you are also aware of this guy, but somebody. Now, JJ, you have an armband here. You need to be vocal in this situation. You need to say something. You need to get Michael's attention and make him aware of this because you're not going to catch him. You're 10 yards, 8 yards behind him. Michael has a chance to fill this in. Michael's got speed. For some reason, he's very slow at getting back and reacting to this play, and I don't know why. Again, now, Michael, he's opened up a good 7 yard lead on you. You take the angle, this is probably 10 yards. JJ, you're still desperate to get back. At this point, it's too late to even tell Michael because he's not going to get back. Dante is taking care of the breach. He's in a good position. Frenchie's got this guy marked, so we're in good shape here. This is the only real problem. John, again, is taking the trailer. He's still in a good position to take care of him. Max, you're out. Now, I always told you, do not foul the ball. What you should have done is when this guy blew by you, you need to start running this way instead of looking here. You need to be looking across the field and help out the defense. Maybe even yell at Michael Bowes to get that far guy, because all you can do now is be eyes on the ball because you have no relevance now. There's nothing you can do. It's already happened. You can't get back. The only thing you can do is get back in here and offer help, and that's what you needed to do. But somebody, Max, JJ, Mike Holland, somebody needed to get Michael Bowes' attention over here. And Michael, you're not excused from fault either. You need to be aware of this guy was your only responsibility. Again, so now the ball is played. Frenchie is going to take this guy's opportunity away, or at least make it difficult. Michael Highland is in a very good position, covering the near post like he should do. But look at how open this has never, ever happened, especially when we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys to cover 4. Now this is probably one of my favorite. I laugh at it every time I see it. But Dan's reaction to this. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, everybody's happy. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Like I said, it's a game of mistakes. It's not about being down on yourself. These are things that you need to learn about. And I hope I helped.